It's Friday, September 27, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. Good evening and thanks for joining us. My name is Samuel Suknandan, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. All voters must verify registration record during claims and objection period, says GCOM. Minister Ramjatan blames PPPC for the traffic congestion due to barricades. PNCR says the National Assembly will be dissolved at the right time. GCCI announces plans to assist small businesses push female empowerment. And foreign diplomats call for free and fair elections on March 2, 2020. Over to you, Whitney.
Thank you, Samuel. Good evening, and here are your regional and international headlines for today. U.S.-based Guyanese arrested over bomb threats. Business owner gunned down in Trinidad and Tobago. President Trump cuts number of refugees entering into the U.S. by half. And finally, Canada's Conservatives pledges an inquiry into the Prime Minister's ethics breach. Let's take a look at these stories and more in a little while, but first, let's join Globespan sportscaster with the headlines for today.
Thanks, Whitney. Here's a look at what's happening in the sporting arena. Hero CPL partners with iCare to promote recycling at CPL matches. And Nice Marseille received sanctions over discriminatory actions of their fans. And we tell you now that the Tridents end home losing streak with victory over the Trinbago Knight Riders. These stories and more in our sports edition. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. And now for a look at the news. In announcing that the claims and objections period, which will begin on October 1, 2019, the Guyana Elections Commission said in a statement today that every person whose name appears on the preliminary list of electors must verify their registration record. GCOM said in its statement, every person whose name appears on the preliminary list of electors must visit the registration office in their respective area with their national identification card to verify their registration record in order to be included in the official list of electors. Persons have until November 11, 2019 to make a claim to be included on the list if they are a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or registration, 18 years or older, or will attain the age of 18 by December 31, 2019. A citizen of a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for a period of no less than 1 year preceding December 31, 2019 can also be registered to be on the list. But even if you do not have a claim or objection, you are still required to visit the registration office in their respective area with your national identification card to verify your registration record according to GCOM. The countrywide exercise will be concluded on November 18, 2019. At an impromptu press conference held today at the office of the opposition leader, PPP-nominated commissioners Says Gunraj and Robeson Ben expressed their disappointment with the release by GCOM. Gunraj took umbrage to the claim.
I want to label this hogwash before I go on anymore. This was never a decision taken by the commission either in whole or in part. In fact, it was not even a discussion that was had at the commission level.
Gunraj said this release should only be seen as another attempt to force another process of disguised house-to-house registration on the population. Gunraj maintained that several points in the release were never discussed at the level of the commission, hence the decision was not unanimous.
So for this to be included in this press release from the public relations officer of the Guyana Elections Commission is, I would want to label it, and I'm being very charitable when I say this, mischievous at best, but it is not surprising.
The GCOM commissioner wants the commission's secretariat to be clear in their language, since this trend of timelines being adjusted without due procedure and consultation does not augur well for the image and function of the Elections Commission.
It is not the first time that we have had reason here in the Commission and at other places to question the work of the Secretariat. It is clear as well that this order is generated by the Secretariat. It begs the question whether a deliberate attempt is being made by the Secretariat to mislead and or undermine the work of the newly installed chairman.
Both commissioners expressed the view that GCOM is now on dangerous ground with regards to the work of the Secretariat and its integrity, and that they are, as commissioners, cannot rely on their statement. Meanwhile, the United States of America, Britain, and the European Union are urging free and fair elections in Ghana, given the recent announcement of a definite date by President David Granger. In a joint statement issued by the foreign diplomatic representatives, it said, and I quote, "It is now essential to ensure free and fair elections, which we are pleased to support with elections assistance and monitoring." These foreign diplomats have also expressed satisfaction that March 2, 2020 has been announced by the President as the earliest possible date for the holding of elections. Just last week, a similar statement was issued by the trio calling for the players in Guyana's politics to abide by the definite orders of the Caribbean Court of Justice related to the holding of elections. In his recent address to the nation, President David Granger said that the closest date for elections was March 2, 2020. His statement brought about widespread confusion and debate over the date. Arguments were centered around whether, in fact, that date was definite, especially given the fact that a proclamation was not issued to dissolve Parliament. This is usually a legal requirement. The day after that address, the President clarified his position, stating that the date is fixed and he will move ahead with it whether or not the opposition returns to Parliament and grants an extension of the life of his government. The People's National Congress Reform Executive Member Aubrey Norton today announced that Guyana's Parliament will be dissolved at the right time. We tell you more in this report.
The identifying of a date for election is clear evidence that the APNU plus AFC government is not afraid of elections. Unfortunately, the PPP is finding something else to complain about. Clearly, the President can announce a date, but he cannot at this stage dissolve Parliament.
That was Senior Executive Member of the People's National Congress Reform, Aubrey Norton, speaking at the party's weekly press briefing. Norton mentioned Article 61 of the Constitution, which states that an election of members of the National Assembly under Article 62 shall be held on such day within 3 months after every dissolution of Parliament, as the President shall appoint by proclamation. Despite the opposition People's Progressive Party Civic repeatedly saying that they will not be returning to Parliament to extend the coalition government's life, President Granger recently issued a call asking for the same.
The government of Guyana has seen through the hidden agenda, and Parliament will be dissolved at the right time.
Norton, in his remarks, praised the coalition head for naming the elections. Noting that the coalition is not afraid of heading to the polls, he encouraged Guyanese to register during the claims and objections period.
We are convinced that the people of Guyana will return President David Granger and the APNU AFC to government.
For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
Thanks, Shakima. Leader of the Liberty and Justice Party, Lennox Schumann, said the LJP continues to advocate for constitutional reform and that the party would welcome any legislation that addresses campaign financing.
But we have always been champions of campaign finance legislation, and not only campaign finance, but political party finance and political legislation in itself.
Schumann told Globespan 24x7 that he is unsure whether there exists an operational code of conduct that will guide the conduct of political parties. He said due to the dynamics of politics in Guyana, the party has faced its fair share of challenges in this regard.
When we launched our party, it was clearly stated that we turned away quite a significant amount of money because we could not find the right source of the money. We don't know if someone wanted to use us as a money laundering scheme. And by virtue of that, I think it is important that campaign finance legislation is tabled. That is one of the things that we intend on putting within our first year when we're in Parliament.
Political financing laws are about protecting the state from corporate and other interests, ensuring that incumbents avoid corrupt use of state resources, including money, and ensuring access to resources for all recognized political parties, among other issues. Political financing laws usually provide mechanisms to facilitate transparency and accountability, which allow citizens to detect instances of corrupt practices. With the elections being imminent, it is expected that this will once again be an issue that needs to be addressed, but successive governments have failed to enact any meaningful legislation to alleviate any fears that may exist. But this is not an easy task without due constitutional review, something the LJP promised to address speedily.
When we look at what the first 100 days would look like in Parliament, constitutional reform would be priority one. Then we look at reforming all of the key ministries and ensuring that they operate based on their mandate.
When questioned on the party's actual plans to ensure constitutional reform is not just a jaded campaign promise, as was seen in the past, Schuman insisted that the LJP intends to make more than just cosmetic changes to the supreme law of the land.
They championed constitutional reform for so long, and then they got there and they did next to nothing to the Constitution. And then the Constitution continued to exist. Why? Because it benefits them. Basically, the Constitution stacks the deck of cards in favor of the governing administration. When you look at the divine right of kings that exists in the Constitution, for example, there is no mechanism to ensure that the president adheres to the Constitution. And you are seeing the realities of that.
The LJP leader said both parties are guilty of using the Burnham Constitution to fit their agendas, and that is something the LJP intends to change, having continuous dialogue on the constitutional reform process. In light of several contrasting views on the manner in which the police dealt with the protest action outside the Pegasus Hotel, when President David Granger was there to address an event, Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjastan said he will take full responsibility for how things were handled there. But many road users, particularly drivers, have now complained that the setting up of barricades at various locations whenever the president is present is causing major traffic congestion. As such, the Public Security Minister said this is necessary given what has happened at Pegasus and laid full blame at the feet of the PPP.
Went there. We have to do it because I was very much criticized for what happened at Pegasus. That you got to ensure that they are barriered away and they don't break down the barriers, Kemraj, from a long distance away so that they don't do that. Now when we do that, and I've instructed the police, as a matter of policy, please take as best security arrangements and put them in place so as to ensure now you get the quarrel coming from the civilian society. And you're going to get that. But I hope that they are not going to have this nonsense of continuing now that the date is made definitive, and that they will stop this nonsense, because who it is that you think is causing that? It is the PPP.
Minister Ramjastan said he wants minimum force used by the police and to ensure that the issue never gets out of hand, as in the case of the Hong Kong scenario, where there were clashes with police and civilians.
If I will take the blame for what happened at Pegasus, I am in charge. Minimum force must be used. Of course, if they get on real violent, well, of course, the police know what they have to do. But minimum force is the first requirement. And that is what I want. Because you know what? If the police had started doing what a number of people have been critical of me and about, that, they should use some more force and all of that, that thing would have been internationalized. And then this government would have been looking bad. And then more criticisms of poor Kemraj Ramjastan. Why you allow the police to do that? Come on. Why didn't you stop and halt them? Look, you are always in a precarious position as a Minister of Public Security. It's a tough job, but I thought I made the right call in relation to what happened at Pegasus, and I am absolutely certain that I made the right call after Pegasus, what happened in other places like the Chinese embassy and things like that.
The minister did admit that his decision to have barricades set up at the Ministry of the Presidency and other locations is one that will have certain repercussions. He says he's prepared to live with it. The British High Commission has not made any decision on the next construction phase of two major infrastructural projects to which it is a party to and have provided financial support. In a press statement issued today, the British High Commissioner, Greg Quinn, said that both projects are part of the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Fund, UK CIF, launched in 2016. The projects include the design work for the construction of the road between Linden and Mabaruma and the bridge at Kurupukari, which is being implemented by the Caribbean Development Bank. Open quote. No decision has yet been made on the next construction phase of this project, end quote, the statement revealed. In addition to that, while the UK funded the design phase of the Kingston to Oval Seawall project through UK CIF, no decision has been taken on the next phase of that project either. The UK was one of the countries that joined with the diplomatic community in urging President David Granger to name an election date while labeling his government unconstitutional. These countries, which included the US, had also warned about the impact on development aid. Remember to like our Facebook page and to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest news in Ghana, the Caribbean, and around the world. Join us after these messages for more news with Shakima Day.
We would like to ask all of our faithful viewers to kindly like and follow Globespan 24x7 Facebook page and subscribe to Globespan 24x7 YouTube channel to receive up-to-date notifications of when we are live. Globespan 24x7 has vacancies for full-time positions such as reporters, newscasters, and news editors. Persons serious about joining a new and dynamic news team are asked to send their application to careers@globespantechnology.com. TravelSpan is pleased to announce special fares from New York to Guyana for Christmas. Seats are available to travel, and depending on which dates you choose, fares range from $849 to $1169. These are limited block seats on American Airlines non-stop flight from JFK to Guyana. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. TravelSpan does have a payment plan, so travel plans, call TravelSpan.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Chaguanas at 665-3383, Val Park 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. Now for more news. The Public Infrastructure Ministry on Thursday signed a contract for the design, supply and installation of a 150 kilowatt hydropower plant on the Xiong River, Cato Village, Region 8. The project aims to provide Hinterland community of Cato, along with government facilities and the Cato Secondary School, with a reliable source of power to enhance their livelihood. Homes in close proximity of the distribution grid will receive power in the early stages of the event. The contract was awarded to B&J Civil Works, costing US $2.2 million. The project will be funded through the Inter-American Development Bank under the Sustainable Energy Program for Guyana and is expected to run for 18 months with a 12 months defects and liability period after the completion of the project. The project comprises of the construction of a 150 kilowatt hydropower plant on the bank of the Xiong River. It will include wire, intake, head raised canal with sand trap, forebay, penstock and powerhouse, the construction of a 13.8 kV transmission network, and the construction of a 120 volt distribution network in the village. You'll hear now that the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce is pushing for more to be done for small businesses and female entrepreneurs, two trending areas in Guyana's business economy. This is according to Chamber President Nicholas Boyer, who was speaking at the opening ceremony for the second annual Business Development Forum. We'll tell you more in this report. The second edition of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce Business Development Forum officially opened today and saw a large number of representatives from Guyana's business community being better informed on how to manage finances and market their products. The twofold event was held at the Pegasus Hotel and will end tomorrow. President of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, Nicholas Boyer, stressed that the chamber is working on doing more for local businesses along with women entrepreneurs.
Underpinning all of this is a push or a thrust from the chamber to really do more for female empowerment and more for small and medium-sized enterprises as well as micro enterprises. The chamber recognizes that these two areas, they have some trends that are going in them right now.
The GCCI head highlighted that there has been an upsurge in women taking leadership roles in organizations in Guyana.
As is evidenced by our chairperson of Go Invest, Ms. Patricia Bacchus. As evidenced in one of our sponsors, we have Ms. Beverly Harper, who is their chair, I think, for the local board for Ansa McCall. What we need to do is to have the conversations and foster the conversations in the small and medium-sized and micro enterprises that allow more women entrepreneurs to continue to break that glass ceiling in Guyana.
Meanwhile, guest speaker Patricia Bacchus, chairperson of the Guyana Office for Investment, praised the GCCI for the theme and focus chosen for the event, marketing and finance, as they are two key aspects in building a successful business.
I'm certain that over the duration of this forum, you would receive valuable insight into strategies connected with these two areas, so I will not endeavor to preempt this. What I would like to share are those precursory initiatives, which in my estimation are very vital to any business development strategy. I call them precursory initiatives. We can even call them preliminaries, but they involve the core structure of an entity, the image it creates, and the intrinsic value it brings. Simply put, these initiatives are governance ideals that include compliance, which I know was covered last year, systems, and standards.
Senior Vice President of the Chamber, Timothy Tucker, in his remarks, launched the Business Vision Fund.
This year, at the Business Development Forum 2019, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce is pleased to announce the launch of its Small Business Vision Fund. There will be a grant of $300,000 to target. The grant of $300,000 is to target an individual with a small business idea who would like to see it come to fruition. Applicants at this event, so all of the people in the room who bought tickets and applied online, you'll have the opportunity to fill out a form which would details the idea of their business. So all those budding entrepreneurs, the people who are studying the MBA and have a great business idea, you have the opportunity to sign up at this event.
The event was held under the theme Evolve Your Brand, Market Your Business. The forum not only presents an environment to improve business, but also serves as a prime networking opportunity. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. Meanwhile, the Reliance Settlement Satian Mandir, located in East Kanji Berbice, was looted by thieves who escaped with an estimated $450,000 in electrical equipment. The discovery was made on Wednesday afternoon at around 1700 hours. Members of the Mandir turned up and noticed that the south door was left open. Upon closer inspection, they discovered several items missing. The thieves made off with 2 Yamaha speakers, 1 Yamaha amplifier, 3 Sennheiser microphones, cables, a bag containing several XLR cables, along with other microphones amounting to $450,000. Only a week ago, another religious facility located in the same compound was broken into, with several items being removed. Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan says he is still opposed to reviewing the 2 a.m. curfew for bars and clubs that was implemented under the coalition government. Ramjatan, who appeared on a local radio program dubbed Hot Seat, challenged the opposition People's Progressive Party civic campaign, promise which seeks to remove that condition.
That is just crazy. The statistics that we have at hand in relation to the relationship between heavy drinking and wife beating, domestic violence. And only the other day I was in a training center, the police force, talking to graduates, some 132 policemen who are trained in domestic violence. Every weekend there is a spike because the men came drunk very late on Friday afternoon, they spend out the money and they start getting angry with their wives, and that spike in domestic violence. If Guyanese can't enjoy themselves up to 2 o'clock in these bars, those are the places that I have put the curfew on, you know, what is called a curfew. It's these liquor restaurants and bars. 2 o'clock, you're there. If you want to go home and drink till 6 in the morning, well, you could do that. But for these public places where access is there for young persons and all the rest, it is 2 o'clock.
The minister maintains that the curfew that is currently in effect is standard through many parts of Europe and in most states in the United States of America. According to him, he does not see any credible reason why this condition should not be implemented in Guyana, where social issues are linked to alcohol abuse.
But when I did it, knowing the connection between drinking, domestic violence, and all of these things, and the immorality that happens, or they're vexed with it, well, they could do that. I hope that the Christian community and the Hindu and the Muslim community will come out, because indeed there is a connection between the rascality that happens on a Friday night all over the place, more accidents, more vehicle accidents and so on. All of that happen. The people, when they get inebriated, talk more, and they also get vexed faster. That is a connection. And then they go home Saturday now, bring the wife to the police station, the children that crying. What is it that we want in this country? Is that what we want? That is what apparently they want.
Despite this fact, many businesses working in the local entertainment industry have complained that the curfew has put a dent on their businesses. But Ramjatan said that the social issues that arise out of the abuse of alcohol are far more important and worth addressing than removing that curfew.
But the curfew applies to the bars and the liquor restaurants. And there must be a timeline. What is the best timeline? Right now, the law is literally in relation to some on that license. And the license got for many bars, 12 o'clock. I even extended it because I had to cut a median, a middle ground, 2 o'clock. And some of them, well, if they feel that they're going to win elections by virtue of that, I would hope that the Hindu and Muslim and Christian communities come out and say that that is a lot of nonsense. The women's movement, plenty of people talk about and are advocates and activists about domestic violence. One of the correlation that I have found is drinking heavily. As a matter of fact, the temperance movement in America that started the women's movement for equality and all of that started off, you know why? It is because they found that their husbands brought along less money on the Friday or the month end and drink out of plenty and whatever it is, and then they beat them up.
Ramjatan made it clear that in spite of pleas from several bars and restaurant owners, he will not be reining on this illegal requirement, and he informed that violators will be dealt with. Meanwhile, the Department of Energy is urging all Guyanese, especially the youth, to prepare themselves to take absolute advantage of all the opportunities that will emerge from the nascent oil and gas sector.
The department hosted a cultural program for students and several youth groups to mark the arrival of Liza Destiny, FPSO, at the National Cultural Center today. The event featured a number of cultural performances, all aligned with the theme of First Oil. Director of the Department of Energy, Dr. Mark Bino, in his address, noted that the prospect of First Oil is greeted with mixed emotions.
Since Guyana's first commercial oil discovery in May 2015, and the 15 other discoveries since then, we have seen Guyanese move from excitement to cynicism to cautious optimism to growing expectation, and lastly to a dawning realization that Guyana is on the cusp of something great.
Bino relayed that transformational change should not just be a cliche, but a reality. To this end, he urged every Guyanese, especially the youth, be prepared to play their individual roles.
As young people, and I count myself still young, if not in age, at heart, we do have quite an undertaking before us. The journey doesn't begin tomorrow. The journey should have begun yesterday. The Cooperative Republic of Guyana, as a new and emerging energy producer, finds itself in a crucial and unprecedented position in the country's history for a sustained economic growth and development that can benefit both current and future generations. However, to take advantage of this opportunity, optimization of the net benefits from our national patrimony is essential.
This, he stressed, can only be achieved with the requisite regulatory frameworks and human capacity. Dr. Bino added that while there is great benefits to be had, one must exercise due caution.
But all this means nothing to the man who is still without a job, the woman still trying to fill her child's lunch kit, individual looking to move from renting to owning their own homes, the new graduate struggling with a student loan, and public and private sector workers aiming for greater disposable incomes. But these have to be tempered with the realization that these benefits will accrue, but they will accrue over time.
Bino further noted that mere excitement for the oil is not enough, but getting accurate information and critically analyzing it is paramount. He said there needs to be an entire shift in everyone's thinking to truly benefit from this new industry.
But all of this will pale into insignificance unless we appreciate and learn to live together as a nation. Yes. Not judging each other or distributing the proceeds from the oil and gas based on the color of our skins, the texture of our hairs, or our political affiliations, but based on the fact that we are all Guyanese.
The director concluded that oil will not help us if there is certain bias in our decisions. He maintained doing what is right must be the hallmark.
For a moment like this, some nations search forever for this one precious gift.
For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thank you, Kingsley. Meanwhile, the Cyril Potter College of Education on Thursday received a hefty donation of some 50 million worth of science equipment donated by the People's Republic of China. The gesture was birthed during a conversation President David Granger had with China's ambassador in 2017. The equipment, which will see the improved training of teachers at the college, was procured over a time on Thursday handed over at the Turkine campus, Greater Georgetown. Speaking at the event, President Granger said that it is important that teachers are educated in an environment that is conducive for academic achievement. Further, the president said that the teachers of today must be geared to train the generation of tomorrow, and they also must be prepared for the important role in educating students to become citizens of the 21st century.
Teachers of today must be geared to train the generation of tomorrow, and they must be geared for that important role in educating our students to become citizens of this 21st century. The teaching of science, technology, and engineering and mathematics is being given priority. It will allow the entire country to develop a more technologically competent workforce. It is essential to the establishment of this digital state of which I speak. It will demand a reorientation of the education system towards placing greater emphasis on technology.
The president noted that the primary mission out of the event was to ensure that the training of teachers is an exceptionally high standard to enable the college to graduate teachers who will benefit the system.
Trained teachers are the sinews of the education system. They are central to achieving the educational standards which will produce graduates equipped with the knowledge, skills, and attitudes, and the values for their personal development. They are nation builders, and they have been so from time immemorial. Teachers have educated generations who in turn have made indelible contributions to national development.
The Chinese ambassador to Guyana noted that it was President David Granger's focus on education that made the gift of the science equipment to the college a reality. He revealed China's intention to continue to support the development of education in Guyana. For the period of 2017 to 2019, China has donated over US $230,000 to education in Guyana. Now, if you have any news story to share, don't hesitate to contact us on our Guyana WhatsApp number at 592-640-7615. We'll take a short commercial break and be right back. Do stay tuned.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Chaguanas at 665-3383, Valpa 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned. We will now join Whitney Prasad at our studio in New York for regional and international news.
Thank you, Shakima. Good evening, and further news and details. International interest in Guyana continues to grow as the country is poised to become a major player in the oil and gas industry. Many airlines are now targeting the South American country, with Qatar Airways being the latest to sign an agreement to start operations. The agreement was signed by Qatar Civil Aviation Authority (CAA) Chairman Abdullah bin Nasser, Turki Al Sabeh, and Director General of GCAA Egbert Fiel. The agreement will permit Qatar's national carrier, Qatar Airways, to operate any number of passenger and cargo flights, as well as cooperation between the carriers concerned. It will also permit QA to have an operations center in Guyana to fly to any country in the region. And a U.S.-based Guyanese man has been accused of allegedly conducting a series of hoax bomb threats at the University of St. Thomas in Minneapolis. Police believes Raymond Prasad, 20, has been behind the threats since April of this year, the most recent being last week. It has been confirmed by the school that Prasad has classes on all of the 3 days during which the calls were made. He has since been charged in federal court with a felony in connection with the threats he called in on April 17th, 20th, and September 17th. Prasad is a third-year undergraduate student at St. Thomas. The FBI task force investigator noted that the bomb threats to educational institutions are sometimes phoned in by students seeking to avoid examinations or assignments. And Guyana's President David Granger last week announced that the country's regional and general elections will be held on the earliest possible date, considering the Guyana Election Commission's GCOM readiness in February of 2020. A few days before President Granger made this announcement, chairperson of GCOM advised that the president and the nation that the body would be ready to conduct smooth elections come next year. Globespan 24x7 News spoke to the Guyanese diaspora in New York. Let's take a look at what a few of them had to say.
I'm happy that they finally got a date on this election, and we're gonna move forward some way, and the people should live in love and unity, and just do the best to get it.
Thank you.
Tell me if it's good or you want to go back.
So, can you give me your take on Guyana's new election date?
Well, I'm glad that they got a fair new date, and I'm glad that everything is going to work out. And I hope that they run a fair party against one another, and I hope everything works out fine, and there'll be no chaos, and we can all live in one unity. And I hope everything works out good. In regards to election wise, I hope the best party wins, and that should take care of that and make Guyana a better place and bring it to the U.S. and make it all the best.
Okay, thank you so much for your comment.
Going forward, they don't do nothing for me. I gotta still come out here and walk. That's all.
Guyana's president has announced for election.
No problem with that. No problem.
Okay. What are your thoughts on it? Are you happy to know what's in store for Guyana?
That's correct.
All right, so tell me that, and then tell me if you want to see the Guyana's people in unity.
Yeah, yes.
All right, so tell me that.
Yes, I'd like to see them in unity. I got much to say.
All right, thank you.
In February of 2020, Guyana is expected to have a new president during the first quarter of 2020. Globespan 24x7 will be following the election foot by foot. Please stay tuned to our daily newscast for more on this story. In Trinidad and Tobago, a mini-mart and car wash owner, Jadil David Robinson, was shot and killed on Thursday night. According to police, Robinson, 24, who owns and operated the one-stop mini-mart and car wash, was killed at about 9:20 p.m. Police said that he was sitting on the roadway near his home just off Esperanza Drive, where he was approached by two men. There was a brief conversation, following which the men pulled out firearms and shot him. Neighbors notified the police and emergency health services, and the injured man was taken to the hospital where he died. Police have no motive for the killing. The Caribbean island of Dominica is developing a sustainable tourism strategy that will be less reliant on its natural resources after Hurricane Maria. Colin Piper, Chief Executive of the Discover Dominica Authority, said that the island is aiming to be the world's first climate change resilient nation. He said the main objective should be to look at factors such as where properties are built, access to electricity and water, and whether hotels can act as community shelters too. This, he said, should be a long-term plan with a well-articulated vision for same. This should impact the island's tourism product and give some indication of what visitors can expect in the future. And according to meteorologists, Hurricane Lorenzo is a powerful Category 4 storm, packing maximum winds of 145 miles per hour far out in the Atlantic Ocean. It is the most intense hurricane ever recorded so far east in the Atlantic, and while there is no immediate threat to land, the hurricane may pose a threat to the Azores Island by next week. Meteorologists have never recorded such a strong hurricane so far in East Atlantic. Lorenzo's minimum central pressure of 939 MB is the lowest on the record this far, according to hurricane expert Philip Klotzbach. And United States President Donald Trump has ordered that the number of refugees allowed to resettle in the U.S. in the coming year be cut nearly in half to 18,000, down from the administration's previous refugee ceiling of 30,000. The limit represents the lowest number of refugees seeking protection from violence or political persecution allowed into the country since the modern refugee program was established in 1980. The new cap, which marks the third time the Trump administration has dwindled the refugee limit, would also be a more than 80% decline compared with last year of Obama's administration, when the U.S. allowed of up to 110,000 refugees who were fleeing war, persecution, and poverty to resettle in America. And Canada's Conservative leader Andrew Scheer on Thursday pledged a judicial inquiry into Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's role in trying to prevent a corporate corruption trial if he beats the incumbent in the next month's national election. Scheer went on to the attack during a campaign stopping Trudeau's own Quebec consistency in which he closed to the headquarters of SNC, the engineering and construction company at the heart of the scandal. Trudeau denies any wrongdoing and says he was trying to save jobs by urging his former Justice Minister, Jody Wilson, to consider an out-of-court settlement. The Prime Minister did not fully waive cabinet confidence, which has limited testimony from several people, including Wilson, who was removed from her job. The United Kingdom's government is planning to put out concrete proposals next week for reaching a Brexit deal with the EU. A BBC report said that these proposals will be revealed after the Tory conference, but in time for the scrutiny ahead of the EU summit on October 17th. Brexit Secretary Stephen Barclay said the moment of truth was approaching. The UK is currently due to leave the EU on October 31st. Let's take a look at what's happening in Africa. Zimbabwe's longtime ruler Robert Mugabe will be buried in his home district, not at a national shrine. The government said on Thursday, relenting to the family's wish for a private burial 3 weeks after his death. Mugabe, who ruled Zimbabwe for 37 years from independence in 1980, was a polarizing figure, idolized by some for his role in Zimbabwe's liberation struggle, but hated by others for overseeing a disastrous economic decline and political violence. He died in Singapore hospital on September 6th at age 95. Amid heightened tension between India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Pakistani counterpart Imran Khan, the two are likely to face each other at the United Nations General Assembly on Friday. The Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan warned the United Nations Friday that his country's dispute with India over Kashmir could escalate into an all-out nuclear war that would have consequences for the world. In a fiery speech lasting 50 minutes, Khan said India could unleash a bloodbath in the Muslim-majority territory as the nuclear-armed rivals took center stage at the UN General Assembly. His heated rhetoric stood in stark contrast to India Prime Minister Modi's address an hour earlier when the Hindu nationalist leader touted domestic successes but made only an oblique reference to terrorism, taken to mean Pakistan. And finally, to end the news, let's take a look at what's happening in the world of oil. Key oil freight rates from the Middle East to Asia rocked as much as 28% on Friday in global oil shipping markets, spooked by the United States sanctions on the units of Chinese giant COSCO for alleged involvement in ferrying crude out of Iran, in what the State Department called one of the largest sanctions actions the U.S. has taken since curbs were reimposed on Iran in November of last year. 2 units of COSCO were named alongside other companies in claims of involvement in sanctions-busting shipments of Iranian oil. The surprise move, affecting one of the world's largest energy shippers operating more than 50 supertankers, come at a time U.S. President Donald Trump seeks to exert maximum pressure on Iran to drop nuclear programs. And that's all for news for today in the region and around the world. I am Whitney Prasad. Thanks for watching. Before we join our team in Guyana for sports and other news, let's join Kumar Doshi for Tech Beat right here on Globespan 24x7 News. Thank you.
Namaste, salam, good day everyone. You're watching Tech Beat from Globespan 24x7 and I'm Kumar coming to you from India. Today I'm going to tell you about identity theft. When someone calls you saying they are from an employment company, or a bank or a credit card company, they would ask you some security questions like your full name, date of birth, passport, or ask you for a passport size photograph. They might sound very convincing and genuine, but these callers may be frauds who would forge your documents like driver's license, passport, tax documents, etc. Once these documents are made, they can be misused and would put you in trouble. They would get access to your bank accounts, tax returns, and even travel with your name. So please be sure of the following before disclosing your personal information. If you get a phone call, make sure you check the number. If possible, ask them to provide their extension. Verify if the phone number that is provided is on the company website before you try to call them back. If they contact you by email, check the email address of the sender if it is from a genuine company. For example, if you get an email saying they are from Amazon, check if the email address contains xyz@amazon.com, or if it is amazon.com, amazon@abc.com, naturally the one with amazon@abc.com is a fake. By checking the email address, you can get a better idea if the email is authentic. Another important factor, do not click on any links in the email that you're not sure about. These links may lead you to malware sites. Don't simply follow links or instructions given to you on emails or any flyer. Verify if it is a genuine company. That's all for today, folks. Stay tuned in to Globespan 24x7 and see you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Kumar. We'll now shift our attention to what's happening in the world of sport with Kingsley Bryan.
Thank you, Samuel. Here's a look at what's happening in sports. We'll tell you now that the Hero CPL has partnered with iCare to promote recycling at CPL matches. The Hero Caribbean Premier League has partnered with the Environmental Management Authority's EMA iCare project at the semi-final and final of this year's tournament at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Tarouba. At the games, which take place on October 10 and 12, there will be recycling bins for patrons to responsibly dispose of their various beverage containers. The Hero CPL takes its responsibility to reduce the tournament's environmental impact seriously, and there is a big push at these games to make it effortless to responsibly dispose of recyclable beverage containers. The EMA iCare team will also be present at the games to give patrons advice on how they can help with Trinidad and Tobago's recycling efforts once they return to their homes and offices. They will also inform as many people as possible about the benefits and positive impact of recycling. Pete Russell, Chief Operations Officer of the Hero CPL, said, and I quote, "We want to make sure that we are doing all we can as a tournament to ensure that the waste generated at our games is recycled, and we warmly welcome the EMA's iCare project to these matches at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. The efforts that the EMA are putting into both education on recycling and to make it as easy as possible for people to do so are so important." End of quote. Hayden Romano, EMA's Managing Director, endorses the partnership with CPL. He added that, and I quote, "The EMA focuses on fostering responsible environmental behaviors through impetus and infrastructure. The authority continues to encourage all citizens and organizations to implement sustainable consumption and production practices at their offices and homes. Join them as they do their part to confront the impacts of climate change." And still in CPL, the Tridents has ended their home losing streak with their victory over the Trinbago Knight Riders. A truly sensational display of sustained hitting from JP Dominy and a noteworthy bowling effort from Hayden Walsh Jr. allowed Barbados Tridents to finally end their 8-match losing home run in the Hero CPL in fine style, with a 6-3 run defeat of defending champions, the Trinbago Knight Riders. Dominy scored the fastest ever Hero CPL half-century before Walsh Jr. took 3 wickets in 4 balls on his way to the first 5-wicket haul of the season, as the Knight Riders came up well short in their pursuit of the Tridents 192 for 5. The Tridents had been given a solid platform by openers Johnson Charles and Jonathan Carter, both men passing 50 in a first wicket stand worth 110. But they took almost 14 overs getting those runs, and when openers and then Alex Hales all fell in quick succession, the Tridents' innings appeared to be falling away. But Dominy had other ideas, blasting his way to 65 from just 20 balls, with his 50 coming up in a Hero CPL record just off 15 deliveries, to propel his team to a winning total. His 7 sixes all cleared the boundary with something to spare. In all, 76 came from the last 5 overs of the innings, as the innings was brought dramatically back to life after the disappointment of the 3 quick wickets. The Knight Riders had made a lightning start to their chase of 193 for victory despite losing openers Lendl Simmons and Sunil Narain to Harry Goyne and Jason Holder respectively. Walsh Jr. then started his own contribution to the Trident success as he bowled Dinesh Ramdin for 11 from 14 balls. Pollard, Nisham and Sikuj all fell in his second over to leave the Knight Riders reeling at 83 for 7 and out of the contest, while Walsh Jr. had the amazing figures of 2, 0, 4 and 4. For all Walsh Jr.'s brilliance, it was still fitting that the final word should go to Dominique. And sure enough, he finished off a remarkable night's work by dismissing Carrie Pierre and Ali Khan to wrap up a thumping win that lifts the Tridents above St. Lucia Zouks into the final playoff spot. The Knight Riders remain second despite having now gone 3 matches without a victory after winning their first 4. And internationally, Nice and Marseille received sanctions over discriminatory actions of their fans. We'll tell you that French top-flight football clubs, Nice and Marseille, have been punished for the discriminatory behavior of their fans, which has included homophobic banners and chanting. Nice will have a tier in its stadium closed for a home match, while Marseille supporters will not be able to attend an away game. The upper tier of the Tribune Suit stand in Nice's Allianz Riviera Stadium will be closed for his match against Lille on Saturday, following the ruling from the Discipline Commission of the Ligue de Football Professionnel, LFP. The stand, which holds many of the club's season ticket holders, will be closed because of banners and discriminatory chants during a League One match between Nice and Marseille on August 28. The game was halted for 10 minutes during the first halt by referee Clement Turpin, with players escorted off the pitch. One of the banners in question criticized the French Football League for approving more fenced-off sections in stadiums, saying it would make stadiums more gay, with another appearing to refer to Nice's new owner, the British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe, who completed a takeover reported to be worth about $100 million. And that has brought us to the end of our sporting news for today. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before we go, here's a recap of our major headlines. All voters must verify registration record during claims and objections period, says GCOM. Minister Ramjatan blames PPPC for the traffic congestion caused by barricades. PNCR says the National Assembly will be dissolved at the right time. GCCI announces plans to assist small businesses push female empowerment, and foreign diplomats call for free and fair elections on March 2, 2020. Thank you for watching Globespan 24x7 News. On behalf of myself, the news and technical team, until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.